All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Beyond Baroque Literary Arts Center. Welcome to Venice. Yes, thank you. For those of you visiting from out of town, welcome to Los Angeles. My name is Quentin Ring. I am Beyond Baroque's Executive Director. Thank you. And we are here tonight to celebrate the release of Beyond Baroque Books' newest book, Poetry Goes to the Movies. We've got a great crowd. We're here. A lot of us are here gathered because of AWP. I've been talking all day. I've been there's thousands of people downtown at the convention center. So I'm kind of exhausted and punch drunk. So if I start rambling or if I shut down completely, forgive me. It's just the way it is. I'm as much of an introvert as any other writer in the room. So, but really thrilled to have everyone here and thrilled to celebrate this book and put it out in the world and gather some of the poets from the anthology to read. Before we get started, I just wanted to say a few words about Beyond Baroque pretty quickly. First, I want to acknowledge our presence here on Tongva land. As an arts organization, we acknowledge the wrong done to indigenous peoples through settler colonialism and genocidal practices. And we are very much committed to uplifting indigenous writers, communities, their narratives, and their art as well. To say a few words about Beyond Baroque's history, we are Los Angeles' oldest literary institution, founded in 1968, making us 57 years old this year. A lot of the folks in the room tonight have put a lot of their own work and labor and talent and creativity into this space, and so I want to say thank you to all of you. Not only for the anthology, but for everything you've given to Beyond Baroque. But we exist to support poets and writers and artists. We do that in a variety of ways. We have a workshop program, which our oldest workshop, the Wednesday Night Poetry Workshop, has been running continuously since 1969. A number of the folks in the room have been through the workshop. Other folks who have gone on to really influence LA literature are graduates of that workshop as well. This theater is the Wanda Coleman Theater, named after one of the alumni of our programs. We also have a reading and performance series right here in this theater. Pretty much every weekend of the year, we have 2, 3, 4 events, mostly readings, mostly poetry, but talks, panels. We have fiction. Sometimes we have experimental performances. We have film. We have theater. So we do it all, but all very much with a focus on poetry and language, and really trying to expand the artistic possibilities of language. We also have an art gallery, the Mike Kelly Gallery, named after another one of our alums. There's a great show right now by the artist Ansel Krute. He'll be back next Saturday for the closing of the exhibition and to launch his new book, which is very much thinking about ways to pair language with the visual arts. We also have a bookstore. As you know, the book is for sale there. Please buy it afterwards if you haven't already. And I should also say that we used to have an archive. We sold our archive that we've been collecting for a number of years. We had a place at Cal State University Dominguez Hills. We had a whole panel about that at AWP earlier. And so we will still continue to collect literary Los Angeles, but it will then continue to be placed at Cal State Dominguez Hills, where it will be preserved for research. So we do a lot, as I mentioned, and so we very much depend on the support of our community. Certainly, you're supporting us by buying the book, but also if you're willing to consider becoming a member. It costs as little as $60 if you're a student or senior. $75 is a regular membership. $100 is a dual membership. We do have premiums available. You can get a choice of a couple books. You get into our events for free. This one is free because we want to celebrate the book, but we often have to charge. You get a discount on our workshops, and you really help support the arts. We're in a very difficult situation, Beyond Baroque and all the arts organizations in the country, and pretty much all of us as a society right now. So anything that you can do to support us, we really appreciate. I think right now it's more important than ever to really join together as a community and support the spaces and each other. And so if you're able to help, we appreciate that, and we hope to in turn help you as artists and creative people and people that are generally concerned to live in a healthy and tolerant society. Thank you. I have to say a few words of thanks. First of all, I want to thank all of our staff that worked on this program tonight. Yvonne Salinas, our programs manager, puts a lot of work into these programs. Jimmy Vega, our associate director, Eric Alberg, who runs the booth, Genesis Perez, our bookstore assistant, Rhiannon Silas Chavez, who's our development assistant and operations assistant. All of the volunteers, really thank you. It's been a very demanding week in general with AWP. But I especially want to thank everyone who worked on the book itself. I think Ash Good is here, who designed this beautiful cover. It's amazing. Pablo Capra, who did the interior, which is also gorgeous. Our publications committee, Mariano Zaro, Laurent Bogan, Gail Ronsky, probably missing a few other folks. But especially Liz Camfield, our associate editor, who put a massive amount of work into this book. And last, but certainly not least, the book's editor, Suzanne Lummis, who will be your host for the evening. Please, everyone, a round of applause for everybody who worked on the book. This will not be the last event we have around this book. In fact, we have a poetry film festival coming up in April. There will be some programming associated with the book with that. We'll have a bunch of films that are sort of based on poems, and then some programming about the anthology. But tonight we're just here to celebrate and to do it the old-fashioned way, listen to some poetry, and talk a little bit about the movies as well. So without further ado, I would like to bring Suzanne up. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Suzanne. So let's take it away.
Well, I'd like to echo Quentin in saying I also was at AWP all day yesterday and all day today. And so you'll also have to forgive me if I start rambling incoherently or shut down completely or some combination thereof or both. I look at this crowd out here and I am chuffed, as they say in the UK, chuffed, or they're alleged to say, because it's not only that the place is packed, but I see so many people that I haven't seen in the same room for a long time. Because sometimes people have their little coteries, their little clans and their best friends and so on that they travel together with. But I'm seeing just mixes of people that I don't often see on the same night, the same time. And this is part of what I wanted to do with the book too. I think it was Mariano. I was talking to Mariano today at AWP, and he was reminding me how long I've had a vision for this book, how I've been talking about something like this for years, but didn't have the means to put it into practice and maybe couldn't quite crystallize what it was. But the idea of bringing together poetry and the movies, which I've always felt have a kinship, which has rarely been explored in an interesting way, maybe superficially, but not in a multi-dimensional way. And that is one of the kinds of interesting mixes that takes place in the anthology. But there's another mix that happens that I've always wanted to happen and can never was not able to understand why it couldn't happen, is bringing together many, not all, I couldn't ever get all of them, but I got as many as I could, of the best writers in the LA Poetry Mon, together with some of the best poets in the nation writing today. And that's, I mean, when you look at the list of these names, I mean, there are very well-known and very well-rewarded poets from across the country, together with Los Angeles poets. But I feel like nobody else has to clap, but I will clap for that. I just felt the impulse. In terms of how to look at this book and try and to think about it, I tried to make it as expansive and intricate as I could, but what I wanted most to do, and I think it was Joyce Jenkins of Poetry Flash, and when she found out that I was doing it this way, she said, "Oh, it takes guts to do that." I didn't put the poems in alphabetical order. I didn't put the poems in chronological order. I didn't even group them by subjects, like here are the directors and here are the poems about the actors and that sort of thing either. I wanted to create a cohesive experience in 3 acts, and to have the poems, to have one poem move out of another poem with some sense of a connection between the poem that had come before and the poem that would follow that one. And these connections sometimes are subtle, sometimes they're quite obvious that I'm following a certain theme. And sometimes they're intuitive, and sometimes I don't even know if they really work. I was giving an example. Well, I was talking to Gail Ronsky, and I was saying there's a series of poems that I put together, about 3 poems, and every one of them at some point in the poem has some passages about running wildly but recklessly and sort of maniacally, either pursuing something or running in dread and fear, or kind of running with no reason behind it, just sort of an explosion. And that emotional moment in the anthology interested me. So, and in another place, as I was talking to my panel about it actually today, and the people who were there for the panel, about a series of 3 poems, and one is on Agere, the wrath of God, and the other is Kurosawa's Throne of Blood, and the other is Andrei Rublev, Tarkovsky. I did not group them because they're all foreign movies, sort of sophisticated films. I grouped them because in every one of them I saw a fierce, untamed, wild landscape that is pre-industrial, a place where we do not belong and cannot necessarily feel that we control this wild landscape. So I was trying to create these emotional movements throughout, and then places where they synthesize, and then at the end of each act, I wanted a kind of culmination and a final commentary on what had come before. And what I hope is, and I don't know if it's going to work, but it kind of worked for me when I did this. If you read it straight through the way you would read a novel, especially if you could have a whole stretch of time and can just read it through in a long afternoon or something, I want people to come out on the other end feeling as if they had really had an emotional experience, emotional and maybe intellectual, maybe even spiritual, I don't know, that something had happened to them the way you feel something has happened to you when you see a really good movie that speaks to you, or read a novel that speaks to you, or even walk through a gallery exhibit. So now, do I have anything else to say besides that? That is my question. Thank you for everybody who's brought these goodies. Thank you to all the people who helped me with this book. I mean, Liz Campier, right there by my side, alongside every step of the way, the long conversations that we had, hours and a half and beyond, about this book and all the different parts of it that were technical and artistic, and the troubleshooting that went on, and the publication committee, who brought in some cool new poets that I never would have discovered, and all the support I got here from Beyond Baroque and Quentin and the whole staff and everybody. This did take a village. It took a very low-paid village to do this. And now we will see if it can go out in the world and do something. Get out there, you Anthology, and do something. Uh, the, Pablo, Pablo, where are you, Pablo, in the darkness? Uh, Whoa, way back there in the back. Pablo, absolutely. Was he designed he designed the interior. Oh, and one of the innovations and and great ideas that Pablo brought to it was I had always had a long list, but just a long streaming list of all the movies that the poems that get poems. Certain movies get poems, and poems are inspired by these movies. And I just had them in one long dangling list. But then look what he did. He made it so much better. He organized them all by their decades. Movies 20s to 30s. That starts with, well, The Bride of Frankenstein is in here and ends up with The Wizard of Oz. And then the 40s, Children of Paradise, and ends up with The Red Shoes. The 50s, Ace in the Hole, and then ends up with Vertigo, and so on. Valley of the Dolls, all these cool movies. And today, somebody bought this apparently. I forget, maybe you told me, maybe it was, I think it was Pablo who told me this story, that somebody looked up all the movies that have poems written about them, and they found their favorite movie in here. And they went, that's my favorite movie, and they bought the book. So it's working. It's working. Now, this is our list of readers tonight. We're going to start with Lee Herrick. Oh my God! Oh my God! Lee Herrick. I better not say. I'm not going to say our best California Poet Laureate, because then other people will all get mad at me. But certainly, we have never had a better California Poet Laureate than Lee Herrick. And he really understands the job, and he's put his heart into it. And he has a stunning poem in here. I mean, it's. Is it okay to say kick-ass? There are no children in here that can say kick-ass. It's a knockout poem about parasite. And here's the order that we will have. After Lee Herrick, when you come up to read, just mention the name of the person who's coming up after you. Lee Herrick will read first, a little longer, because he's our guest poet all the way from Fresno. And then Ron Kirchie, Harry Northup, Harrison Ham, Marilyn Robertson, Mariano Zaro, Charles Webb, Phil Taggart, Jim Cushing, Celeste Goyer, Michelle Bidding, Pam Ward. Is Pam Ward here? Are you here, Pam? No, you're here. Oh, there you are. Oh, she's totally so here. Okay. Carol V. Davis, Sarah McClay, Kim Dower, David Trinidad, Cecilia Wallach, Allison Turner, Kim Young, Amy Gersler, Lois P. Jones, and then I just realized my name's not on the list to read. So I will just put myself here at the end and try to close this show. All right, what a lineup. Damn right, what a lineup. I mean, where can you go and hear a show like this? All right, Lee, are you ready? Are you in the mood to come up? All right.
Oh my gosh. I just want to take my time to talk about how wonderful Suzanne is. So that's all I'll be doing for 10 minutes. I'm really happy to be here. This is a great turnout. Quinn, it's great to see you, and everybody at Beyond Baroque. Thank you for always making me feel welcome here. It might be a stretch to say it feels like a second home, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Thank you. I was listening to Suzanne talk about the work that went into the book. So thanks to everybody. I know Gail and Liz were instrumental, and the designers. Thanks for the copy, Liz. I don't know where you are, but thank you for the copy. Yeah. Just a little brief word on the experience. I don't want to rehash the whole thing, but just thankful for your kindness and patience with me. I didn't think I could get the poem in, and I ended up writing Suzanne and just said, "I'm sorry, I just can't do it," and she kindly wrote back and just said, "Think about this," showed me a couple poems. Um, and it felt like a gift, not just to be in the book, but I've always, since the movie came out in 2019, I had always hoped to write it. And I think you were the reason for that poem happening. So thank you. And I don't know how loud it can get in here, but could we give Suzanne Lummis a hand for this? Thank you. Yeah. Really, really, my heart is full for you. So thank you, Suzanne, and really, really happy to be reading with you all. So this is really a treat. Yeah, Suzanne said, well, since you're driving a while, why don't you take 10 minutes? You could read something of your own. And I thought, well, why don't I read something else from the book? So that's what I'll do. And then last night, I was reading through this anthology. And sometimes you read one or two and you're like, oh, this could be good. And you'll put it down and get back to it in a year or something. I read through a good, at least half, 3/4 of this. It's a stellar book. It's fun and dynamic, and the poems are just stellar. So I couldn't decide what else to read. So I'm going to read mine. And then what I decide, maybe I'll read like 50 of my favorite poems from the book. No, I'll just read one other one, but this is the one I wrote. And if y'all haven't seen it, right, Parasite by the great Bong Joon-ho came out in 2019, but it's the first film to win Best Picture for the Oscars that was a foreign film. It also won Best Director and Best Original Screenplay, so it's a great film. One who eats at the table of another after Parasite. We've all needed someone to live, to feed us, nurse us, want us, to keep us from our fatal allergy. In one scene, we fake our name. In another, we angle for free Wi-Fi, open windows for free fumigation. In one scene, Dasong's self-portrait of madness or the basement dweller. But the young boy knows he isn't crazy. Haven't we all needed someone to understand us and our wild idea? In the basement, a husband in hiding. In the stairwell, a blunt rock to the head. Parasitism is the most common survival strategy in the world. Of the 8 million species on Earth, almost half are parasitic. We invent and reinvent ourselves. A new name, day by day, line by line, to make believe, to make belief where there was none, to eat at the table of the host. Invention is a survival skill. You be the tutor, she'll be the maid. He'll be the rich man's driver. She'll be Jessica, only child, Illinois, Chicago. Haven't we all needed a song to become who we need to be? Corporate, parasite, hypocrite, socialite. Don't the wealthy feed off the poor, drained of their energy, made to wait longer, search harder, fold more pizza boxes per hour? In one scene, I could be everyone and no one, in love with the violent end, the murderer stuck in the basement of his own making. Someone new will come by this house. Someone new will tend to the yard. You be the mythic architect. I'll be the dark-skinned farmer surviving. All right. Thank you. Thank you. And then I'll just read one other one from the anthology. Mine's, I think, the last poem in the first section, and this happens to be the first poem in the second section. It's Kim Adenizio's poem, Night of the Living, Night of the Dead. Oh, maybe I'll just say briefly, one thing I enjoyed reading this through the first time, so many of these poems, is I too went to some of the poems I loved. And then I loved poems, sort of the film through the poem, because I'm not a big horror film person. Don't hate me if you love horror movies. But I just love the poem, so it showed me a new appreciation for these films. So this is Kim Adenizio, Night of the Living, Night of the Dead. When the dead rise in movies, they're hideous and slow. They stagger uphill toward the farmhouse like drunks headed home from the bar. Maybe they only want to lie down inside while some room spins around them. Maybe that's why they bang on the windows while the living hammer up boards and count out shotgun shells. The living have plans to get to the pickup parked in the yard, to drive like hell to the next town. The dead with their leaky brains, their dangling limbs and ruptured hearts are sick of all that. They'd rather stumble blind through the field until they collide with a tree or fall through a doorway like they're the door itself, sprung from its hinges and slammed flat on the linoleum. That's the life for a dead person. Wham, wham, wham. Until you forget your name, your own stinking face, the reason you jolted awake in the first place. Why are you here? Whatever were you hoping as you lay in your casket like a dumb clarinet? You know better now. The soundtrack's depressing and the living hate your guts. Come closer and they'll show you how much. Wham, wham, wham. You're killed again. And thank God this time they're burning your body. Thank God it can't drag you around anymore, except in nightmares, late night reruns where you lift up the lid and crawl out once more and start up the hill toward the house. Thank you. That's Kim Adenizio. And now I have the pleasure of introducing the great Ron Kirchie. So Ron, come on up.
This poem is kind of self-explanatory. It has all that you need to know about the underside of Hollywood, especially in the B movie sense. The title is Filmography, Marilyn Harris, 1924 to 1999. Marilyn's best known as Little Maria in the 1931 Frankenstein. The monster throws her into a lake, imagining she will float like the flowers she had playfully tossed there. It was the pinnacle of Marilyn's career. Smaller parts followed. Little girl, flower girl, school girl, all uncredited. Later, cheering in the bleachers at a football game, standing outside a malt shop with other blondes, uncredited. Her mother turned out to be another monster, throwing her into a lake of B-movie extras, driving her to casting calls held by leering producers. Marilyn specialized in what were called tits and tires double features, often sprawled beside a burning hot rod or dying in the first act at the hands of a marijuana-crazed grease monkey. She'd come home from these shoots still wearing the off-the-shoulder blouse and smoking, sneering at her mother, who waited on the porch of the tiny duplex they could barely afford. Thank you. Harry Northrop is next.
I dedicate this poem, the work, to Jonathan Demme, the director of the picture I wrote about. He hired me 8 films, and he died way too young. He was a very warm, positive director. The work, there was a shaft of light on my manuscripts at 3:51 a.m. In my mind, in sleep, I had been thinking about roles I had played in films, TV commercials, the thought and sum of preparation. What exists, what had not existed. I received the script of The Silence of the Lambs 2.5 months before I began shooting, and I borrowed a pigeon named Champ, kept him in a cat cage outside on the patio, brought him in for an hour a day, learned how to hold him, spent time with him in the bedroom with newspapers spread throughout, talked to him, fed him. We became mates. He liked to fly and land up high on the window's curtain rods. I chose my costume, one of layers for a man who worked outdoors in the cold. In Cincinnati, wore a knit cap with the colors red, gray, and blue. Hammered nails daily, toughened my hands, practiced my lines, created a visual for the opening of the first exterior when Clarice Starling walks up to me. Mr. Bimmel, I would be holding a white racing pigeon up to the sun, opening a wing, looking for mites. Jonathan Demme, the director, asked me before, what do you want to do in this scene? I told him. He said, great, and shot it. The production designer called me a month and a half before my scenes were to be shot and asked for personal photos for me to use in the upstairs bedroom scene, and I sent pictures of baby Dylan and me, and they were framed and used, as well as others that the film's photographer took of Mr. Bimmel and his daughter, who went for a job interview in Chicago and never came back. And the next poet is Harrison Ham.
Hello. This is my first time reading it Beyond Baroque, and it's such a cool one to be a part of. So thank you so much, Suzanne and Liz. I'm a screenwriter I was a screenwriter before I was a poet, but thanks to the incomparable Sarah McClay, I discovered poetry after one course with her, and this poem was the first poem I had published, and it was the only fourth one I wrote ever. So thanks. It's called John Wayne. Oh, and I should also say, Suzanne said when accepting this that this would get the book banned in California, or in Florida. So not, huh? Clay County. Okay, let's do it. So this is a poem called John Wayne Undressed. You're an actor, aren't you? Pretend this is dress rehearsal, and I'm untying the anger knotted down your back. Cast a lasso tight round your chest. Heartstrings choke into a shit guitar. I'll pluck it right. Leather with a side of whiskey, spilling indigo down your neck. Wash it off before I lap it up, cowboy. Thirst is watching you ride. I'm young, and you're on TV. Forget Mount Vernon, Hollywood, the Wild West. Give in with a tipped hat. Baby, that's the silver screen. Touch yourself, if it helps. Easy, steady, denim scratch of sandpaper skin. With every button, you strip America bare naked, so I beg you play a kinder man for the scene. Texas lingers with an open door, a question. Haven't you ever held a dog as it died young in your hands? Kiss me like that, cowboy. Taste of shame, grit in your teeth. Grab onto my throat, props for reins. Not the Rockies, just any fucking grocery store bathroom. Hang on tight, you know how I whimper. Shoot me down with those open casket eyes. Wonder where the horses go when they gallop past frame. You know, I never saw my grandfather cry, but I caught you tonight, John Wayne, undressed and weeping. Thank you. Next up is Marilyn Robertson.
Here I am. I just want to say thank you to Suzanne for being such a wonderful poet and a great teacher too. And since I'm number 3 in the book, but I printed my poem out. How many of you seen, oh, I can't see you, shoot. How many of you seen Some Like It Hot, the movie? Ooh, a lot of people. Okay, well, good. You probably thought that it was shot in Florida, but it was actually shot in my hometown, Coronado, California, next to the Hotel Del. And it was very weird in those days. Well, actually, the poem tells about it, so I won't spoil it. But it was really weird that there were no paparazzi, just people getting autographs, you know. But I saw Marilyn. Some Like It Hot. Action, shouted Billy Wilder, and you ran in heels in that red dress down the back steps of the Hotel Del, along the paved path to the beach, in that shimmering dress with a tiny heart cut out on the rear, revealing skin. Over 20 takes, each one the same to me. There were no paparazzi then, only townsfolks with shiny eyes and pens poised. I didn't know anyone else named Marilyn, except for you and my pretty blonde aunt. I was a kid, my skin bronzed, gritty from riding a bucking rubber mat in green sea foam. Dark curls crested above a chest flat as sand. Later we circled you like hungry fish. You, fragile, wrapped in thick white terry cloth, not like that oversized celluloid tease, but translucent, like light through a negative, everyone mesmerized. Even today, eager for every last scrap, so many takes, so much taken. Rarely do I meet another Marilyn, a name gone out of style, like Gladys Viola, my grandmother, or Norma Jean, a name chosen by my mother and her mother too, a name that echoes. And now, let's hear it for Mariana Zaro.
My sister holds my hand in the dark. It's not really a movie theater. It's a bar where young people gather. They put a projector on the counter in front of the tap. They turn the lights off. It's 1976. I am 12. Franco just died. My sister is 22. She takes me to see foreign films on Fridays. Her boyfriend buys me soda, popcorn. He smokes. Everybody smokes. He has long hair, wears a braided leather bracelet, silver and turquoise beads. This is one of these European movies, my sister says. Not a word to mother. Do you understand? This is the beginning of secrets. European sounds dark, disturbing. and you know that someone naked may pop up on the screen at any time. Not sure if you should bring your brother to see these movies. Her boyfriend says, I am here for the popcorn, I say. And you know he's not like the other kids, my sister says. This is the beginning of labeling. My sister holds my hand in some scenes, shards of glass in cries and whispers, the rape into women, when Charlotte Rampling dances in the night porter. I want to be like them, I tell my sister when we leave. To be like who, she asks. Like the people in the movies. This is the beginning of pretending. Thank you. Next poet is Charles Webb. Thank you.
It occurred to me as I came walking down the stairs that I could easily fall. That would that would have been so ignominious. But Suzanne, thank you. Thank you for doing this. I mean, this is really terrific, and I'm really honored to be part of it. I don't think you need to know much about what I'm going to read to you, except that towards the end, a woman named Karen comes into it, who was my girlfriend at the time and is now my wife. So this is called, the title explains it all, 20 Years Late to See the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Brad and Janet, the square couple, are a hoot. And the line, didn't we pass a castle down the road? And Riff Raff, the hunchback, and his sister Magenta, and of course, the mad scientist, Dr. Frank N. Furter, a monument to camp, strutting and mincing in black corset and fishnets, thick crimson lipstick, pearl necklace, purple goggles of eyeshadow, and a tattoo of a heart skewered by a knife as he sings, I'm just a sweet transvestite from Transylvania. Right, actually, a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania. But what made the movie such a hit and dates it so completely as the 21st century closes in is its atmosphere of pure permission. If it feels good, do it. From the days of androgynous rock, Elton John in rhinestones and windshield wiper specs, David Bowie with his orange hair and spiders from Mars, Freddie Mercury and Queen, and my band, the Restaurateurs. We were thumbing through a dictionary trying names like Brunhilde and Nepenthe when someone read restaurateur and we all roared. The first time I wore lipstick and green eyeshadow and stuffed a rolled up washcloth in my pants, I barely dared to step on stage. But people thought we were rock stars, and pretty soon I thought so too. Certain we'd go platinum, reviling disco and Saturday Night Fever, hot tubbing with a blonde brunette and redhead all at once, sweet, slutty innocence. Years before Freddie got AIDS and We Are the Champions became The Show Must Go On. That is why watching Rocky Horror in my living room on my VCR, a thing unknown when the movie appeared, I listen rapt as Karen explains how the audience threw rice in the wedding scene, covered their heads with newspapers in the rain scene, flicked on their cigarette lighters when Brad said, "There's a light over at the Frankenstein place." That is why I grabbed my turtle excremento in one hand and Karen's hand in the other and danced with them around my living room, and why all night the record changer in my brain plays and replays the sad hit single, Old as Humankind. Let's do the time warp again. Thanks. Oh. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Let's see, where are we here? Okay, next is Phil Taggart.
It's great to be here and great to see all of you. Thank you, Suzanne, Liz, and always thank you, Beyond Baroque. I have something called the Mothra sequence. I wanted to write about the environment, and so I was thinking of a protest movie, and then I realized, wait a minute, Godzilla was a protest movie about the atom bomb. You know, they're pretty nervy since we had just beaten them, and so they came up with that. And then I thought, well, who in this group of monsters would be a good one for? And I thought of Mothra, because Mothra was supposed to save the world, and so that was her job. And so I took her and put her a little bit now. And of course, the Luminous Twins, you'll hear about them. Mothra sequence. The atomic bombs exploded in the Bikini Islands at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, awakened the irradiated Godzilla, then the movie Mothra and the Luminous Twins are part of this pantheon. Mothra protects the Earth. The twins became pop music stars in Japan. Their music has been rediscovered. Mothra embrace us. Fukushima wakes her. She was napping. After all the movie exposure, but that radiation stings. The luminous fairies, the twins, were anxious to continue the quest to save Earth. Smoke from across the water darkened the sky. Lungs struggle. Weather has gone mad. Cancer. The Earth will survive. The twins would like the humans to survive as well. Mothra's not sure that part is necessary. Look at Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island. Whatever's left of Earth probably comes back eventually. The three of them, Mothra and the Luminous Twins, tour again. The message has not changed much. The Earth still poisoned by humans. The twins still cry out. Mothra, embrace us to heal. Mothra, help us to change. Thank you. I forget my head sometimes. Mr. Jim Cushing.
This is the most spectacular turnout I've seen at Beyond Baroque, and I can't remember the last time there were so many people here. So thank you all so much for coming. Thank you, Liz, and thank you, Suzanne, for the beautiful intelligence that you showed in assembling this remarkable testament to the poetic energy in this city. I suppose you'll call this a confessional poem when you hear it. Well, I don't like the phrase confessional poem. So I just want to tell you about straighten you out about some of the things that are going on around here. My poem is called Up All Night. A woman's devotion, a woman's secret, a woman's vengeance. Behind green lights, behind locked doors, behind the high wall, behind the mask, below the deadline. Black angel, black hand, black Tuesday, blackmail, blackout. Blast of silence, blind alley, blind spot, blonde bait, blonde ice, blonde sinner. City across the river. City for conquest. City of fear. City of missing girls. City of shadows. City that never sleeps. Crime against Joe. Crime by night, crime doctor, crime in the streets, crime incorporated, crime of passion, crime wave. Cry danger, cry of the city, cry of the hunted, cry terror, cry tough, cry vengeance. Danger Street, dangerous afternoon, dangerous crossing, dangerous partners, dangerous passage, dangerous years. Double cross, double deal, double exposure, double indemnity, double jeopardy, down 3 dark streets. Girl gang, girl on the run, girls in chains, gun girls, gun man in the streets, guns don't argue, gun crazy, guns, girls, and gangsters. Hell bound, hell drivers, hell is a city, hell on Frisco Bay, hell's half acre, hell's island. I accuse my parents. I died 1,000 times. I killed that man. I live on danger. I'll get you. I love trouble. I, the jury, I wake up screaming. I was a communist for the FBI. I was a shoplifter. I was framed. I wouldn't be in your shoes. Johnny Allegro, Johnny Angel, Johnny Apollo, Johnny Eager, Johnny O'Clock, Johnny One Eye, Lady Gangster, the lady from Shanghai, lady in the death house, lady in the lake, lady on a train, lady Scarface, lady Vengeance, man bait, man from Tangier, man in the attic, man in the dark, man of conflict, man of courage, man on a string, man on fire. Night editor. Night has 1,000 eyes. Night tide. Night without sleep. Nightfall. Nightmare alley. Secret beyond the door. Secret evidence. Secret of deep harbor. Secret of the whistler. Secret service investigator. Strange bargain. Strange fascination, strange illusion, strange impersonation, stranger on the 3rd floor, strangers in the night. The big bluff, the big boodle, the big boss, the big caper, the big carnival, the big chase, the big clock, the big frame, the big heat, the big knife, the big night, the big operator, the big sleep, the big steal, the big tip-off. Dark city, the dark corner, the dark horse, dark mirror, dark passage, the dark past, the dark road. The man from Cairo, the man I love. The man is armed, the man with my face, the man who cheated himself, the man who died twice, the man who wouldn't die. The strange affair of Uncle Harry, the strange love of Martha Ivers, the strange Mr. Gregory, the strange Mrs. Crane, the strange woman, the stranger in between. They can't hang me. They drive my night. They live my night. They made me a criminal. They made me a fugitive. They made me a killer. They were so young, they won't believe me. Walk a crooked mile. Walk east on Beacon. Walk softly, stranger. Walk the dark street where the sidewalk ends while the city sleeps. I have seen every one of these movies. Ladies and gentlemen, now you're really going to hear something. Celeste Goyer. Celeste Goyer.
Following Jim Cushing. All right. Now for something completely different. Okay. After viewing Late Spring by Yasuhiro Ozu, our apartment's full of translucent slices of evening light. Once it had 4 spacious rooms, an entry hall with a niche where time liked to sit and do nothing, and a black lacquer tray of moss and pebbles. On the closet wallpaper, starched brides and horses with all 4 hooves in the air fall to the bottom of a gorge against an immense wind. When I turn my back to make tea, chop vegetables, make the cooking fire, shush, shush, the walls say, sliding in closer, nesting into each other. Father drops his suit in the hall after work, and it lands on a daughter, dreaming of a career and a love marriage. I am not too worried about the gridded boxes closing in or the lanterns like tasseled moons lowering onto our dinner plates. Why shouldn't our furniture push us around for a change? We have rented bigger dreams than this small box can hold. We study our maps for a town called Cucho, Little Vacuum, where the mountain bandits live, count train stations on the route. For my natal day, we'll travel there, burn the dark with cups of tea like small green seas, trot along the shore on shoes carved from our old bureaus. The slow motion ghost troupe will sing my name in their language of moans, free of consonants, free of hurry or treble. The sound lifting our hotel's wooden umbrella roof from its nighttime, leaning over valleys full of dark trees, their slender tops bending to each other, gossiping about fog and the annual bird count. Thank you. And Michelle Bidding.
Don't look now. Running back through the hotel lobby, I was thinking black coffee, Antigua from a French press with salted caramels. But I lost you in the shadow of the elevator cave. My mind flew to the bayou, then to Venice, even flashed on that demon dwarf Donald Sutherland tracks in the Thriller by Nicholas Roeg. Hooded, crimson-cloaked. What was he chasing? Something lost in love, a sound, a self drowned out. And when he raised his long face to the blue above San Marco, the Grand Canal dribbled from a girl in white winched up. Her drenched nightie a religion evil measures itself against. Lost, rushing blind, my vision of elevator doors, a guillotine clipping the neck of your red Remova rolling, like me weeks later, riding my shopping cart through rain, through parking lots, one crooked foot cleaved to the metal railing, my wheels still spinning through water, stone, a bridge of memory back to you and whatever I keep chasing. Scary, I have to look, but sweet with heat. Pam Ward.
Suzanne, Beyond Baroque, a lovely editor of this manuscript. This is so great. So I just want you to know I was rejected from this publication, and I was moved to write another piece, and thank God I did, because that was accepted. So I just want you to know, writers, you know, keep pushing it. All right. So this is Eyes of Laura Mars, the deadliest movie I never saw. The book involved, let's start again. The hook involved a fashion photographer visualizing murders in real time, a slick piece of noir torture porn. I went to the theater with my mother and my sister, and a well-rehearsed lie. My purse hid racy lingerie. Sitting in a row, munching popcorn, my eyes shifted from Mom and the lime exit sign as multiple promos exploded. In the film, Laura doesn't suspect the cop is the killer. Mom didn't know my boyfriend was waiting outside. The opening was intense. Lurid music made me squirm. I spied Mom smiling expectantly at the screen. Sensually dramatic, Mars was right up Mom's alley. My plot wouldn't have worked if the film were boring. I whispered, stood up, sat a few rows back. I'm nervous, I told Mom. I'm sitting back here. Mom frowned, but a car crash scene snapped her neck. Gratuitous violence made the best environment for disappearing. With Mom in trance, I snuck outside to my boyfriend's car. Cut to me, laced and dining on Cornish game hen. This was my first foray into a bona fide star, a stunt woman, a body double, a liar. 2 hours later, I located my sister in the lobby. I made her recite the ending, the good part, and the kicker. Where were you? Mom said. I became Tommy Lee. I moved because I couldn't see. Without missing a beat, I recited my sister's line. First they ice-pick the eyes, then those two models get it, and Laura kills the cop in the end. I am thespian, the female lead of a repeating role, a daughter who learns to survive. Thank you. And then we have Carol Davis.
Thank you, Liz, and everyone. Suzanne especially. Battle of the Bulge. My parents never understood fear, how it captures a child and does not let go. First, it forced its way into my bedroom, where the curtain stripes were a burglar's profile, each fold a portion of a face in profile, a nose, a prominent chin, hooded eyes. The 2-volume Grimm's fairy tales bound with peeling leather and discolored pages slid into my nightmares. Later in England, my brother pleaded with my mother to drop us at a movie theater to watch Battle of the Bulge. Despite being overprotective, she agreed, though the movie poster confirmed I was too young for this film. We sat in the dark theater, 3rd row. The tanks lumbered in formation over the hills, slow beetles rolling over everything. I knew at that moment that someday I would die. Sarah McClay.
Thank you, Suzanne and Liz and Beyond Baroque and everyone who worked on this. I realized, Suzanne, as you were talking, that one of my poems is one of those running poems because it follows Michelle's. But I'm not going to read that one, which is steeped in the opening of Melancholia, which I have seen many times. I'm going to read the other one because I know you like it a lot. The View from Herald Way. And this came out of a different circumstance. It was sort of a mission that I accepted because of somebody who's in the room tonight. Amelie Frank and Carly Archibek in the late 90s were inviting a bunch of poets they knew to come to the apartment that Brennan Constantine was living in at that time, which it turns out was the last address of Bela Lugosi. And so it has a different genesis from a lot of things. And my introduction to cinematic vampires came more from Herzog and Klaus Kinski. So I love Nosferatu. So I had to do research because I'd heard of Bela Lugosi, but I'd never really seen his films. So I learned a lot about him. Anyway, this is The View from Herald Way for Bela Lugosi from his last address. It's almost Palm Sunday, and so the palm fronds hang like razor blades in honor of the season, cutting at the sky as the canvas of the day narrows its hues to black and white. And perhaps he wonders, How does one rehearse a heart attack after all those years of playing somebody who doesn't get to die? He moves from the southern window, glancing at the wreck of corrugated tin that lines the eaves, to the rambling house next door where the paint is gradually feathering into wind, leaving wood as exposed and gray as his own hair. The rug holds years of someone else's cigarette burns and the smells of other people's lives. It is a shabby place to end after all those cathedrals. But below the northern window, a hint of the old spectral elegance remains. The iron entry gate is scrolled and resembles, he realizes, the entrance to a cemetery. The gray sidewalk stretching to the house, a flattened tombstone, or the grave of a giant from whose bones a grove of calla lilies interrupts the dark. The flowers' lips like widening, distended candles spent from the heat of a firm wick and cooling in the falling night. And as he imagines what it would be to fly out this window in the form of a bat, he gazes down at the long sidewalk and knows, after all, he's just a man who looks for a second up the suddenly steep hill beyond the gate, a rising mound of gray, where lit up for the night and spelling the name of the cemetery are those large white wooden letters, Hollywood. Next up in the pink is Kim Dower.
Hi, everyone. So we all know Suzanne, and we know that when Suzanne tells us to do something, we do it. So Suzanne and I had our cafe au lait, or our biscuits, what we have, and she said to me, Kim, I'm doing an anthology, Poetry Goes to the Movies, and I want you to write a poem, and I want you to watch the movie Get Carter, because we all know also Suzanne is obsessed with Michael Caine. Lucky for all of us, and especially for me, this poem would never happen if not for Suzanne. And she said, I want you to watch the movie Get Carter and find one line in the movie that moves you and write a poem about that line. Now, that was tough. That was a tough assignment, but I did it. I found Get Carter on Netflix or wherever, and I, too, love Michael Caine, so it wasn't that difficult. And the line that I found was, "You must be joking. I never eat breakfast." So that is the title and the first line of the poem. You must be joking. I never eat breakfast, said Michael Caine in Get Carter, chest bare, lighting up in bed, a cold-blooded killer, the morning after a one-night stand, a roll in the hay, as my mother's friend used to say. I wanted to be that woman lying next to him under the covers, black mascara streaked down my cheeks, wild hair, our legs entwined, seconds away from the men with guns breaking down the door. Why do we like these tough guys? $1 million question for the $1 million movie, which I'd watch every Saturday night on the little black and white when my parents were asleep. Love with the Proper Stranger. Natalie Wood gets pregnant by Steve McQueen. He marries her, does the right thing, and at 14, I fantasized about going too far in an old Corvette somewhere in Brooklyn or Queens with a guy who looked like Steve McQueen. My mother was relieved we lived in Manhattan. No cars for her to worry about, no tunnels or bridges, no back seats, just the Broadway bus where nothing much can happen except you might see someone get on with a bullet hole in his shoulder, like I did, going home from 57th Street after a date with a boy I didn't know. We went to see Prudence and the Pill. I was embarrassed. He was unappealing. And then on the bus, a man with blood dripping from underneath his coat. I used to wonder what a roll in the hay might be like with a murderer. Would he tell me he never ate breakfast? Would he tell me why he killed? Michael Caine went after the men who murdered his brother. Makes sense, I guess. Revenge is popular. If someone set fire to my house, I would find them. I would borrow a gun. Everyone, it seems, has one. I would pull the trigger on an empty stomach. I never eat breakfast either. Thank you. It's a delight to welcome David Trinidad.
If you've never seen Valley of the Dolls, you won't have to after hearing this. Things to do in Valley of the Dolls, the movie. Move to New York, lose your virginity, become a star, send money to your mother, call pills dolls, fire the talented newcomer, have a nervous breakdown, suffer from an incurable degenerative disease, sing the theme song, do your first nude scene, wear gowns designed by Trivia, become addicted to booze and dope, scream, "Who needs you?" Stagger around in a half-slip and bra, come to in a sleazy hotel room, say, "I am merely traveling incognito," get drummed out of Hollywood, come crawling back to Broadway, pull off Susan Hayward's wig and try to flush it down the toilet, end up in a sanitarium, hiss, "It wasn't a nut house," get an abortion, go on a binge, detect a lump in your breast, commit suicide, make a comeback, overact. Please welcome Cecilia Wallach.
It's wonderful to hear all of these poems, and I cannot tell you how happy I am to see all of you. Thank you, Suzanne, and thank you for being here. If you didn't see the film, The Zone of Interest, the star of the film, in my opinion, was the soundtrack. The Zone of Interest is set in the house of the commandant of Auschwitz-Birkenau. Soundtrack, The Zone of Interest. There is almost no sound that isn't muted, as if heard through cotton batting or a scrim of white noise, gauze. Almost no conversation that isn't murmured or garbled by distance or interspersed with a clatter of heels, the rattle of gold teeth in a box, treasured playthings of a child. At night, the walls of the nursery red with reflected flame, the whispered lullaby of fire. And from not far off, the constant low roar of the crematoria, muffled gunshots, stifled screams. Sometimes the screeching wheels of a train, sometimes the barking of dogs. No music except when the screen goes dark, and then the music deepens the darkness, the sound of falling into hell. Meanwhile, the hush of the neatly ordered rooms, the quiet garden, the lushly blooming flowers. Birdsong, the gurgle and plash of the placid river flowing past, full of bits of bone and ash. Thank you. Allison Turner. Allison Turner.
Hello, everybody. This poem was inspired by Suzanne Lummis, who made me watch LA Confidential over and over. And finally comes the poem. It's called The Con. I can't not notice the innocence of a plaid bathrobe over blue pajamas. Everybody's dad at the door. His 4 fair daughters away with their mom. I can't tell from here if they love him, but they should. A kitchen like that, flounced curtains as fresh as cotton laundry on a line, and patterned with clumps of violets. Breakfast chatter before school still hung in the air, even an overripe banana in a bowl on the kitchen table. Here a man sits, confiding and about to be dead. I know enough about Irishmen to know it's an Irish thing to be genial and brutal in the same day. Don't be fooled. It's night through the kitchen window. Don't let the streetlight deceive you, the green glisten of garden shrubs. Don't start trying to do the right thing, boyo. You haven't had the practice. Coffee in a porcelain cup, bullet from a gun. Dying, the man imagines his own last words to set a trap. It's worth the bone white wreath on the kitchen wall, its fake roses. Letting go, it's worth a smile. A world with all its ways of going wrong, says St. Augustine. Even with the groves nearby, orange groves nearby, and beaches clean as a whistle.
Kim Young.
Hello, everyone. So honored to be part of this. Let me make sure I had the poem marked. Okay. A piece, this one's called Thelma and Louise, and it comes from a time in my life I can see now when I was obsessed with, I was also reading Kate Chopin's The Awakening, and I apparently was obsessed with stories of women who wouldn't settle for their old lives. Thelma and Louise, it's numbered 1. When they decide to do it, when the red lights are lined up in the blurry background and Harvey Keitel has stopped running toward them, when he knows he can't save them. 2, we called it the Leeds house. All the girls shaved their heads and left 2 decorative strips of long bangs that we dress with men's pomade. A's father wore military fatigues and trained his chihuahua to respond to German commands. One night, he grabbed my crotch and he told me he knew I wore the pants in the family. 3, it was a family of sorts. My boyfriend was gentle and grew his fingernails long. His mom had left him on the side of the road in Santa Paula. I gave him all the money my parents sent me. 4, they start out so pretty. Susan Sarandon's coral-colored lipstick. 5, in the Leeds house photos, we've got pink hair and our septums are pierced. We've just come from Riot Girl gatherings where we practiced being strong. 6, we were all drunk all the time. There was even a dog tied to a tree. 7, the news report calls it suicide by deputy. A's father gunning it back to the house where his daughter should have been sleeping. 8, after leading police on a 3-county chase during which he repeatedly shot at officers and smashed through gates, eventually stopping in the 4800 block of Leeds Street. 9, we piled onto couches and into cars, forgot to take showers, carried our metal lunch boxes into bars, still beautiful and shy. We were 19. We didn't see a cliff. We thought we could always climb back into our lives. 10, the golden camera angle, their unwashed hair, Gina Davis in her sleeveless black t-shirt. The long dirt road eventually ends, all that dust in the air. Thank you. I have the great honor of inviting up Amy Gersler.
As many people have said before me, this is an amazing anthology. It is a thrill and an honor to be included in it. Thank you so much, Suzanne, Liz. Beyond Baroque, please live forever. This poem is called The Bride of Frankenstein. Late at night, I glimpse my ideal woman. Problem is, she exists only on TV. Nonetheless, I am smitten. Seams divide one perfect cheek into 3 continents. Her impersonation of an angry swan is so feral that I long to fill my mouth with feathers. She walks stiffly, this actress on stilts, as though her joints don't work. Her eyes dart like a prey animal's. She's on screen only 3 minutes, yet in that brief time manages to channel both startled newborn and enraged caged predator. A crumbling puppet, her lipstick like ink. Her legs were bandaged so tightly on set, I read, that she was unable to move and had to be carried. When the film opens, before she becomes monster, she wears a white net dress with sequins shaped like butterflies, moons, and stars. Censors objected to the neckline of that gown. What an ultimate striptease it would be if her bandages peeled. She could continue to speak swan, I wouldn't mind. On stormy nights, our bed would become an elevator, ascending the floors of a blackened castle, bursting clear through the roof, penetrating an electrified sky. In each of her movies, I read, she was asked to scream. Now, she screams without my even having to ask. All right. Please welcome Lois P. Jones.
These images are divine. I just love this reading.
can't see anything, it's true. Thank you so much, Suzanne. As I said to her, she put a soul into this book. The painstaking work she invested in placing all of it, the editing, as we know, but choosing which poem goes next to which poem. I mean, it's epic. It makes the whole progression into something bigger than itself, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you, Liz, also for all the work. So I have a bell. I'm the last person, and I have a very big bell, and this bell is from a film that I've been trying to write a scene about for several years. It's Andrei Tarkovsky's Andrei Rublev. Yeah, the bell scene at the end, which is like one of the most epic scenes ever, and it goes on for about 30 minutes. So I'm not going to read all of it because it's 2 pages, but I will give you bits of the bell, and each section is titled by parts of a medieval bell. So if you live in 15th century Russia and the prince tells you to build a bell, you better do it, or you might die. It's still true today, but you know. Okay, so this section is called Crown. And this is from the viewpoint of Boriska, who is the boy who's going to make the bell. And he hasn't had, or he doesn't know if he has what it takes to build this bell. The guards ask, who can build it? And I tell them, Nikola dead, Gavrila dead, Kazyan dead. And the Tatars took Ivashka away. Stupid Druzhnik, I say. If you want to find death, he's in the 5th hut with his eyes shut. I will build the bell. That bastard father gave me nothing in this life but a bull's head and his hands to find the grail. But I know that if you dig deep enough, you will find your kingdom. I took the years of dung and sand to fire the kiln of my own music. They said, I'm only the son of a bell maker, that I'm the false bell broken off from the mold. But I watched, I listened, I knew. I built my heart from the blood of the earth, while he lay, father, in a hut away, worms spinning their death tale with plague. So, shoulder. Close-up of a boy who is soaked to the bone. Look at him. He knows earth is not a relic in the fist, but the blood of its toll. Something about the way he kicks off one shoe before he falls forward into the mud, sliding over the lip of the slope and reaches bottom. See how his arms and legs make snow angels in the clay. Rain is a ghost wetness, a heavy bird in his hand. He laughs and squeezes the muck through his fingers, tasting the mud with his whole body. Knowing is the way clay shapes a sound in silence. Oh. And finally, the bell has been built. He's found the mud, and this is called lip. There's a creaking in the rope that sounds like desperation, like the sweat of the sea without the sea. Hands over fist hoisting the great bell as it ascends into the tower. There's a man and the clapper, and he's pushing the brass back and forth, and the woman in a white cloak is watching, and Rublev holds his vow of silence in his hands, and the sky and its blanched bread is not giving out any secrets, and still the groaning of the clapper sounds like the cry of rust, until the tongue tastes the metal from silver melted from the rings of the living, from the stolen platters of young widows, from all the candlestick ghosts. Boreska sinks to his knees. Bellow, bellow, bellow! What is it you are most afraid to hear? Thank you. And now we bring back Suzanne.
I sure enjoyed that reading. That was sure fun. Wasn't it cool? How cool was that, Pam? It was so cool that Pam just burst out, blurted out, and said, well, this is fantastic. She couldn't hold back. Not a dull moment, I'm telling you. So I will read a poem of mine, and there's only one movie that has 3 poems dedicated to it in this anthology. And it happens to be a movie that I'm very interested in. It's a movie that's really under my skin. And we have 3 poems in here because there were 2 other people who I forced to write poems about it. It's Alan Rudolph's Choose Me. Gosh, I love that movie. And it's got Keith Carradine, Genevieve Bujold, and Leslie Ann Warren, and Tommy Chong's daughter, Ray Dong Sean, playing a really, really bad poet who sits in a bar and reads her terrible poetry to people. It's so great. It's so great. And the 3 central characters played by Keith Carradine and Genevieve Bujold and Leslie Ann Warren, when I watch it, I think I could have been any one of those. It's like 3 different sides of me, except, well, maybe a little more interesting than I am, but, the way characters in a movie are really, really interesting all the time. So this is called, it says, if I had seen a movie named Choose Me more than twice, conditional tense poem. And the opening of this title is a reference to my idea that I see a lot of movies twice. I mean, lots of movies twice, even movies I don't like that much twice, because I feel like I haven't really seen a movie till I've seen it twice. But if I see it 3 times, I must really like it. And I've seen Choose Me many times. And then it says conditional tense poem because it has so many I could have been, beens all the way through. I could have been the woman mixing tequila and orange juice, a dash of grenadine on the sober side of the bar, the men thinking I'm made for this red dress, but they're wrong. I'm made for something better. The night with me makes those men want more, but makes me want to move on. Sometimes I hear music, soulful, a voice of molasses and honey. There is more than one movie in me. Or I could have been that soft, hesitant woman in need of a roommate. I arrived with a story, fragments. My name is not what I'll tell you. At the station, the sound man knows what I need, he says, but my fascinations are immaterial. I advise callers on love, but have never fallen in. When I fall out of myself, I set a table for 2 and raise my glass to a man who's not there. You could have been the man who arrives on foot, by street, East downtown LA. And of course, it's the 80s and night and neon colors the dark air. Your suitcase holds evidence proving your lies are truth. Suspect description, lanky with a steady gaze. You fight well when cornered in bed with a gangster's wife. Your kiss makes a woman roll over, then become someone else, something different, more herself. I could have been the woman who'd say, I am those women, the one who falls for a guy who sleeps in a bus depot, shows up at her door, or the one on a rooftop, woman with a gun and in love, acting out, impressing the moon and 4 stars, the man rushing to reach her, the billboard pitching the world's most wanted dark and glittering drink. I could be her, but I won't say. I'd be saying into air, to a space at the opposite end of a table, where a wine glass standing alone would be wondering, what am I doing here? If a wine glass could wonder. Well, Quentin, what do you think? Quentin, you think we should go out in the lobby and eat some of those cakes out there? And huge cakes and millions of calories and tarts and cookies and wine. Have we got enough wine for everybody?
Maybe we should buy some books.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Start, first of all. Get your book. Please get your book before we run out of them. Thank you, all you good readers. Thank you, good readers.